What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding. Today, I'm joined by your 2020 212 Mr. Olympia champion and now qualified for the 2021 the 2022 Mr. Olympia, Open Mr. Olympia by beating Regan Grimes, Sergio Oliva Jr., that Legion Sports Pro. I'm pleased to welcome Sean Clarita to Desktop Bodybuilding. Mate, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? A pleasure to be on here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on the channel, man, because I talked to you last year about getting you on after the Olympia and my life got busy. I'm sure your life got especially busy with everything that's going on. But what's it like being, a Mr. Olympia? I mean, obviously you're not holding it right now. You got second this year and you looked incredible once again. But what's it like actually being a Mr. Olympia? Obviously it's different in these times, but what's it been like for you?
After winning Olympia in 2020, Dan Solomon said your life has forever changed. And in that moment, I didn't really know what that meant. But then when I got home, it was just nonstop. I was doing appearances. I was traveling, people taking pictures. It was everything I've dreamed of. I used to watch the guys like Flex Lewis, Jose Raymond, David Henry back in the day. Those guys traveling the world, doing seminars, shaking hands, taking pictures, signing autographs. And fast forward to 10, 12 years now, I'm that guy doing the same thing. This is everything I've dreamed of, everything I worked for. It's been an exciting time. And even though I don't have the title now, I'm still forever will be an Olympia champion. But obviously the goal is to get that title back one day. But I'm not sure yet. To be honest with you, with everything going on this year, having come out and winning my Open debut, now being qualified for the Open Olympia next year, there's some decisions that, my team and I will have to make. Right now, we're just kind of still celebrating the season. It was a great end of the season, but now being qualified for both the 212 and the Open for 2022, we're just not sure where I'll be at.
Yeah, for sure. And many people have been saying now as well that they want, guys in the 212, if they qualify for the Open, they should be able to do the Open. And man, honestly, I'd love to see it. I mean, there's very few drawbacks. The only drawback would be is if, we had like a Hardy who was, sucking down to 212 and then just jumping in the Open and sort of seeing where he fits in, I guess. That's the only real drawback. Outside of that, I mean, I think the fans would love it. It would get, obviously, you 212 guys doing Open shows through the year as well. And it's interesting to see how you guys match up against the Open dudes. And obviously we saw for you matched up very well that Legion Sports Fest, winning that show against guys that really you picked like the tallest lineup because you had Cedric McMillan, you had Regan Grimes, you had Sergio. And that's why I was like, are you going to get lost or are you going to be above these guys? You end up being above those guys. So that's incredible. But firstly, would you love to be able to compete obviously in both because it makes sense for you because you're getting two paychecks as well?
I don't even look at, but I've never really cared about the paycheck aspect or how much I'm getting paid because honestly, any show I competed, I never knew what the prize money was. I think it would just be such a marketing benefit for the Olympia, for my own personal brand. It'd truly be a giant killer David versus Goliath matchup. You got myself going up against, Bonac, Nick Walker, Rami. I think it would be great for the fans. They want to see it, and I think the biggest plus for me is I'm literally the lightest guy in the 212 division. So I think me going into the Open, I think they want to see that. I think it'd be exciting. I think they definitely sell tickets and they definitely sell pay-per-view. A lot of people will be tuning in. I know my fans will be tuning in to see how well I do in the Open. I'm not sure when's the last time it's been done. We had a guy 170 pounds competing in the Open stay. I think Leela Brada may have been the last one who's done it. But again, we're not sure yet if we're going to be allowed to do that. I have to speak to whoever is in charge, whoever makes that final decision, and then just kind of just say, hey, I'm just asking for that one opportunity, that one chance, just to be able to compete in both. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's touch on the Legion Sports Fest. Now, obviously I mentioned you're competing against a bunch of tall guys. How did you feel going into that? Because obviously you're the shortest in the 212 going against some of the taller guys in the Open. How did you feel confidence wise, being in that, obviously the final three call out was, you three guys going at it. And you obviously against two taller guys, but you was put in the middle plenty of times. But I think Steve's done it well, how he rotates all the guys through the middle. So it leaves everyone sort of guessing. So I really like that. But I felt like it was you or Regan after pre-judging because I was like, well, I think he's the best taller guy. You're the best shorter guy. And obviously you got that win. But how did you feel on stage? What was the feeling at the show after pre-judging and all that?
Oh man, it was such a rush. Well, actually Tyler was the head judge for this show. When I just getting to that first call out, man, that was all I needed to hear because as soon as I got to that first call out, I just turned it on right then and there. I didn't look to my left. I didn't look to my right. I held my poses. I squeezed. I gave everything I had. And it was literally myself, Regan, and Sergio kind of smack dead in the middle. And when I wasn't moved at all, I right then and there, it told me I'm in the mix here. And even though I wasn't the tallest guy or the biggest guy, I knew that what I brought as far as the conditioning factor was definitely keeping me in the mix.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what's been the response since this show? Because obviously, you know, it was sort of after prejudging, everyone was like, is Sean going to win this? You know, like, because a lot of people went into it. I mean, I predicted you in 5th spot because I had no idea where to put you. I still had obviously quality guys behind you, but I had no clue, totally honest, where you would actually land. And then seeing after prejudging, I was like, okay, well, it's definitely you or Regan. And I think you're when I went pose by pose, I had Regan winning the back shots. I think I had you winning pretty much every single other shot, just because I'd analyze every photo. I'm like, well, he's more complete. He's more, you know, he's got more hardness and all that sort of stuff. But, do you think you show guys up on conditioning, basically? Is that your number one thing? And obviously completeness as well, but the conditioning is what really stands out.
Yeah, that's been my mark, even as an amateur going to pro, even 212. It's, again, I've never been the biggest guy. I'm pretty narrow, but the thing is I have so much, I believe, dense muscle. It's packed on my frame nicely. The conditioning, the detail is always going to be there. And, you know, there were a lot of predictions going to the show that, you know, people, again, like yourself, had me 5th. Some had me 6th, 7th. No one really had me winning the show at all. No. And that was simply based off of who was competing. Obviously, Sergio's been as high as, I think, top 4, Dale Arnold. Cedric's as a champion, Arnold classic champion. And again, just being the fact that I was still 170 pounds going up against guys 80, 90 plus 100 pounds more. A lot of people didn't think I could do it. And I think my own personal team probably thought, like, we're not sure what's going to happen here. But once we got to the show, again, just once I got to that first call out, man, like I was at my absolute best for this show as opposed to Olympia. So I knew I was going to be on. I knew that the only way I was going to win this show or be in the mix is just being as hard as nails. So Matt Jansen, who's my coach, we really pushed the conditioning for this one because we've seen it, unfortunately, in a lot of these shows. Oh, hello?
Yeah, I just want to show me what you're looking like.
Okay. I've seen a lot of these guys, unfortunately, not come in 100% as far as conditioning goes. So I knew I brought that. I'd definitely be in a mix, and that's how I played out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see on the screen here as well. And one thing you did mention earlier as well was that, you know, you get into your poses, you hold them, and you just sort of stay in that pose. And that's what Nick Walker does as well. And I've noticed that's something that the judges really seem to like, and I like it as well. I mean, Big Ramy did the same thing when he won the Olympia for the first time too. Is that a big focus for you when you're on stage, really just getting into the pose and just holding it hard?
Yeah, I pose all year round, even in my off season. Yeah. I think that's one of the main priorities, main things in this sport. Yeah, we can all get in shape, we can all put on muscle, but who can display it the best and hold that? You know, the one thing I hate is when I see guys shaking on stage and having to come out of their poses. That just means you didn't practice hard enough or long enough. And the judges see that, you know, and that's why they make us work as much as they do. They want to see who's gonna last longer and who's gonna break first. And for the most part, the guy who's able to hold their poses, go through with ease, and make it look easy, is the guys gonna come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that time after time as well. And I think that, you know, obviously, you know, you guys with Matt Jansen tend to, you know, really focus on that. And I think it's a good move. Absolutely. But I want to get into a little bit about, I suppose, like when you got into bodybuilding, because I don't think many people would have seen, you know, your structure and everything like that and gone, oh, this guy's going to be a top pro one day. Because I even remember seeing you competing as a pro. And I remember when you started placing in 212, or whether it was, I think it's 212 at the time, when you were placing like up around like 4th and 5th in some New York pros. And I remember thinking, that's incredible. That's incredible with your top 5 with your structure at that stage. And then you went on to be top 5 in the Olympia. And I was blown away by that. And I thought, this guy's reached his potential. And then you got better again. So how have you mentally been able to go from being, you know, what are you, 5'2"?
5'2", yeah.
5'2", like, and actually having the belief in yourself. How do you have that belief in yourself when I'm sure people have said that, or you've heard that people have said, you know, this is his potential and he's reached his potential and you've gone past that. So what mentally do you have to do to keep pushing yourself past what people think is your potential?
Well, you just said the word, it's belief. You know, again, when I turned pro in 2012 at the Nationals, I was a bantamweight. People said, you know, you're too small, you're too short for the next level. You should just quit now and just be happy having your pro card. But again, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I was capable of. I knew that if I put the work and the time in, I'd eventually get there. And I did that. I kept my head down. I kept my mouth closed. I don't talk much. I don't really show anything in the gym. I go into the gym, I do my job, and that's my goal every single year is to improve upon my package. I always tell myself I can't go backwards. So like I said it like last year when I won the title, 2020, when I won the title, I said, I promise, I guarantee what I bring to next year's Olympia will be better. And it was. And the same thing for the Legion. Even though I only had 2 weeks from the Olympia to the Legion, I was way improved. I was much better. Again, in going to next year, that's the goal as well. Matt and I already have sat down. We've talked. I'm actually back on prep right now for next year. We'll be better. We'll be bigger. We'll be more improved. The areas that need the improvements will be that those improvements will be made, and I will be stepping on stage absolutely better than I was this year.
That's incredible, man. Like it's incredible you had that belief in yourself, and I think it's really, really cool. Do you ever have moments where you like doubt yourself at all, and are they short lived or not really?
Never. I mean, there's times where it gets really rough, and I may break down, on my own, and just kind of have a moment to myself. But quitting and saying that I don't want to do this anymore, that's never been an option. And those words have never been spoken to myself now.
Yeah. So what's your plans for the rest of the year? Are you competing again? Are you competing the start of next year, or are you going to wait out to the Olympia?
So I was asked and invited to come to Egypt this weekend for the KO Pro. But unfortunately, it was just very short notice. I would have to have come home that Monday from Legion and leave that next day. I don't like the stress of having to do that. Had that been planned prior, I could have made it happen maybe. But, just as a good way to end the season, obviously placing second at the Olympia, even though it's second and people think still it's great, for me, it's a loss. So kind of be able to redeem myself in a big way by winning an open show, my open debut, and beating some big names. That kind of put me on a high, and that kind of is what I'm using right now to kind of go into next season. I want to kind of go into next season with that fuel, that motivation, and put it in people's minds. Like, this is the guy that placed second at the Olympia. This is the guy who just beat Cedric, Sergio, Regan. That's the guy we're all worried about. So again, I can't give you an idea of where I'll be next year on stage. I'm hoping it's in both the 212 and the Open. But unfortunately, if I'm forced to make a decision, I can't give you an answer right now. I'm just going to get back to the gym. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to grow. I'm going to enjoy this season. Kind of get some family time back in my life. And once it's time to crank down and get back to prep, we'll make a decision based on how my body's looking. And hopefully by then I'll have an answer as far as, where you guys can see me in Olympia State, either 212 with Open or both.
Man, I can't wait to see it. Hopefully it's both. I think that'd be absolutely awesome. Now, obviously Derek Lunsford, the man who, did beat you at the 2021 Mr. Olympia in the 212s. Now, he's obviously with the same predicament. He doesn't know what he's going to do, moving forward. I've heard Hani, it sounds like almost like he'll stick him at 212 for maybe at least another year. What would you do if you were Derek Lunsford? Would you grow and push your genetic potential, or would you stay within that 212 confine?
I've had many talks with Derek. We were in Vegas together. We had dinner together, and I told him as a fan, I think I would love to see him in the Open. Could we see Derek 4 or 5 weeks out, 225, 230, full of the house, ready to go? I've told Derek this many times, and again, as a fan, I honestly believe Derek can be in that top 6, top 7 at the Open of Mr. Olympia.
Yeah,
I don't, again, that's his decision. I'd rather him make the decision rather than his coach about where he wants to go in his career. But I absolutely believe, Derek will be his absolute best if he's in the Open.
Yeah, for sure. Because we do notice as well, I think obviously this year he came in dramatically better than he was the year prior, where I heard that, I think Hani Rambod said that he was about 10 pounds under the actual 212 weight limit when he weighed in. He's obviously much closer to it this time, but obviously he's restricted by that. And I thought it was very close between you guys this year. And it was very much, like everyone said, the Olympia weekend, it's apples versus oranges. You know what I mean? Like you still had that real shredded look throughout your whole physique and from the front. And I think that you probably, obviously on those front shots, you were very, very good against him. And, he just sort of had it from the back a little bit. So where do you think you need to improve your physique moving forward into next year to, either get that 212 Olympia title back or to improve and, place hopefully well in the Open class?
I mean, I like to improve everything, but if I had to pick some body parts, definitely my chest for sure. Definitely bring up my hamstring because my quads are very dominant. The calves, a little bit more glute glute muscle, glute thickness, glute roundness, kind of get that Ronnie Coleman-ish from the back. But yeah, I would say glutes, the hamstrings, and chest for sure.
Yeah, just by going by what I've seen from you online, I knew you'd have answers straight away for that because you are so meticulous about the way you go about things.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're extremely strong in the gym, so I've seen you throwing around some pretty huge dumbbells. So, what's sort of like your, I suppose, is that your just training philosophy in general, just like hard and heavy and just sort of old school? Or?
That's how it's always been. I grew up with the old school bodybuilders when I got into the sport. There was no social media. What you guys see me wearing today, with as far as the baggy sweatpants, the baggy shirts, that's exactly what we wore back in the day. We'd go in the gym, we lift the heavy weights, we squatted, we deadlifted, we bench pressed, we did all the heavy compound movements. And that's what's enabled me to bring that dense, hard look on stage. People don't realize that. Like, people don't know, how do you get that granite look? It's not a diet thing. It's what you do in the gym. Your body needs to be under a certain load in order to have that look. And that's just that's what gives you that look. I mean, I always said you take two different guys on stage and you can put them, compare them next to each other. You can see a guy who's trained with the heavy compound movements and a guy who's trained with machines and cables. It's just a complete different look.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go to this photo of you as well here because that's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's it's 90 pounds at year 2000 there on the left. And then it's 2019 Mr. Olympia where you're 169 pounds. And now you're obviously 74, 175 pounds. So you've come from such like humble beginnings, I guess you'd say, in terms of the actual physique and how you were structured and everything like that. So I want to give people some perspective of what obviously that hard training has done for your physique, because it's really transformed you into a short dude with not hugely wide clavicles to being obviously 212 Mr. Olympia. So it goes to show that anything's sort of possible, man. So I think that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I was a wrestler, man. So wrestlers have a whole different mentality, and a lot of good bodybuilders came from the wrestling background too, man. So
really?
Yeah, I think Derek Lunsford's another one. He was a wrestler. So
really,
we're just built different as wrestlers, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. But man, I cannot wait to see what you do in 2022. Now it is. I'm getting confused which year it is. It's going to be an amazing Mr. Olympia going forward next year. We know obviously, Flex Lewis may be going into the Opens. Who knows? You might be going into there, and obviously Derek Lunsford as well potentially could go into the Opens as well. So that 212 Olympia title could be wide open, or we could see you both returning, going head to head. So I cannot wait for that whatsoever. Now, do you have any sponsors you want to thank, or anyone you want to thank before we wrap up the interview?
Absolutely. So I want to thank my team, Gasp Official, my man Michael down there in Texas, take very good care of me. Also Wolfpack, you guys have seen the backpack company.
Yeah, they're awesome.
California. They're just blowing up right now, man. Mega Fit Meals, they've been providing my meals for the past a year and a half, 2 years now, making my life so much easier. And of course, I have to thank my home gym, Signature Fitness. I've been there, I'm almost going on 6 years, and man, they just show so much support with a huge mural in the gym with my photo. And when I got home this year, they did an 8-foot plaque outside the gym, says "Home of the Giant Killers." So every time you walk in, you get to see that. So cool. Man, I have a great team of people. Obviously, my family, my girlfriend, God first and foremost, and I keep my circle very small. And those are the people who've been rocking with me before Sean was Mr. Olympia, and they're still in my corner. So I'm very grateful.
That's really cool. And I love that, man. Like, I love hearing stories about like gyms that like really love the athletes and love their members and stuff. It's cool.
That's important, man. I mean, that's very important when your gym gets behind you and that they're buying equipment that you want and you need. And they're actually, the one guy, Big Will, he's one of the managers there. He came to the Olympia to support me. He came to this past weekend show to support me, whatever. He just says, "Hey, you have a show? I'm coming." And it just feels good, man. It feels really good.
That's really cool. Yeah. I remember when obviously Phil Heath was, training at he's still training at Armburst Gym. He has his parking spot there and it says parking spot of Mr. Olympia. And I'm like, man, I love that stuff. I think that's so cool. It's just
I'm still waiting on my parking spot. Will, if you guys see this, I'm still waiting on my parking spot at Signature.
Yeah. Once you get that, you've reached the top level. But,
you've made it.
Which you already have. Exactly, man. But thank you so much for coming on Desktop Bodybuilding as well. So let me know in the comments below, what would you like to see Sean Clarey compete in? Would you like to see him in the Opens or the 212s, or ideally would you like to see him in both? So hopefully that's the outcome. We get to see you in both the 212 and the Opens. But that's it For myself, Xavier Wills, and your 2020 212 Mr. Olympia and winner of the Legion Muscle Fest, Sean Clarita, we are out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video on desktop bodybuilding. I encourage you to head over to Desktop Bodybuilding Clips, which has the smaller, shorter clips and the best parts from all these interviews and podcasts. So make sure you head over there, subscribe, hit the notification bell button. It really helps me be able to do what I want to do on this channel as well. So it's much appreciated if you guys can do that. Also, if you like this video and this type of content, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills, at Desktop Bodybuilding. So for Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.